A car is engulfed in flames. Inside, a mother screams. Her 2 children are trapped in the back seat. Bystanders freeze in horror. Then, a man in a wheelchair rolls toward the inferno. He has no legs. What does he see that everyone else is missing? June 14th, 2019. Interstate 75, outside Atlanta, Georgia. Rush hour traffic. The sun is setting. Then crash. A Honda Civic slams into a guardrail at 70 miles per hour, flips twice, and erupts into flames. Witnesses pull over. Some film on their phones. Others call 911. But everyone stands back. The heat is unbearable. The fire is spreading fast. And inside that burning car, a family is dying. Among the frozen crowd is Jake Morrison, 38 years old, former Green Beret, sitting in his wheelchair at the edge of the highway. He just finished physical therapy across town. He was heading home. Then he saw the crash. Most people would wait for firefighters. Most people would pray from a distance. But Jake Morrison isn't most people. Because 7 years earlier, Jake had made a choice that changed him forever. A choice that cost him his legs, but saved 8 American soldiers. And now, that same impossible courage was about to surface again. Afghanistan, 2012, Helmand Province. Sergeant Jake Morrison, U.S. Army Special Forces. Green Beret. Elite. Unstoppable. Jake was the guy everyone wanted on their team. The guy who ran faster, shot straighter, and never left a man behind. His unit was on a routine patrol when their convoy hit an IED, an improvised explosive device. The blast tore through the lead vehicle. 3 soldiers trapped inside. Fire erupting from the engine. Jake was in the second truck. He could have stayed safe. But that's not who Jake Morrison was. He sprinted toward the flames. Pulled out Private Rodriguez first. Then Corporal Hayes. Then he went back a 3rd time for Specialist Chun, who was pinned under debris. That's when the second explosion hit. The vehicle detonated. Shrapnel ripped through Jake's legs. Both severed below the knee. Witnesses said he didn't scream. He just kept dragging Chun away from the wreckage, crawling, bleeding, dying. But he didn't stop until Chun was safe. Jake Morrison saved 8 lives that day. But he lost his legs. Lost his career. And for a long time, he thought he'd lost his purpose. Until that burning car on Interstate 75. Recovering from combat injuries isn't just physical. It's mental, emotional, spiritual. Jake spent 2 years in hospitals, 17 surgeries, learning to walk again, or trying to. Prosthetics helped. But some days, the wheelchair was all he had. He moved back to Georgia, started physical therapy, tried to rebuild a normal life. But normal felt impossible. He wasn't a soldier anymore. Wasn't the man he used to be. PTSD haunted him. Depression crept in. Some nights, he wondered if saving those soldiers was worth losing himself. But Jake had one rule: never quit. It was drilled into him in Green Beret training. It was the mantra that kept him alive in Afghanistan. And it was the voice in his head on June 14th, 2019, when he saw that car burst into flames. Because here's the truth about real heroes. They don't stop being heroes just because the war is over. Jake watched the scene unfold. Smoke billowing. Flames licking the roof of the Honda. He could hear screaming. A woman's voice. My babies. My babies are in there. Emergency responders were still 10 minutes away. The car was going to explode any second. No one was moving. Fear paralyzed the crowd. But Jake rolled his wheelchair closer, closer, until he felt the heat on his face. He knew what had to happen. Someone had to go in. And he was the only one willing. Sir, you can't, a bystander shouted. You're in a wheelchair. Jake looked at him, calm, focused, and said, I know. Then he did something no one expected. He lifted himself out of his wheelchair, dropped to the pavement, and started crawling toward the burning car. What happened next was captured on a bystander's phone, and it's footage that will leave you speechless. Jake dragged himself across broken glass, gravel tearing at his hands. The heat was suffocating. The smoke was thick. But he kept moving. He reached the rear door. It was jammed. He pulled. Nothing. Pulled again. The metal was already warping from the heat. Inside, 2 children, ages 4 and 7, were screaming. Their seatbelts were stuck. Their mother, Jessica Ramirez, was unconscious in the front seat. The fire was spreading under the hood. The gas tank could blow any second. Jake punched through the window. Glass shattered. He reached inside, cut the seatbelt of the 4-year-old boy, and pulled him out, handed him to a bystander. Then he went back for the 7-year-old girl. Her leg was trapped under the front seat. Jake had seconds. He wrenched the seat forward with a strength that shouldn't have been possible for a man with no legs. The seat gave way. He pulled her free, got her out, but the mother was still inside. By now, the entire front of the car was engulfed. Jake crawled to the driver's side. The door was crushed shut. He couldn't open it, but he saw an opening near the window. He reached in, grabbed Jessica's arm, and with everything he had left, he pulled. The metal groaned. The flames roared, and Jake Morrison dragged an unconscious woman out of a burning car, on his stomach, with no legs, just seconds before the gas tank exploded. The blast threw him backward. Bystanders rushed in, pulled him away from the flames. Jake Morrison lay on the pavement, covered in soot, bleeding from cuts on his arms, and all he said was, "Did I get them all?" Paramedics arrived. Jake refused treatment until the family was taken care of first. The 2 children, bruised but alive. Their mother, in critical condition, but stable. All 3 survived because of Jake Morrison. The bystanders' video went viral. Millions of views in 48 hours. News outlets called him a hero. The president sent a letter. The governor of Georgia honored him. But Jake didn't want any of it. In an interview, he said, "I'm not special. Any soldier would have done the same. I just did what I was trained to do." But here's what Jake doesn't understand, or maybe refuses to accept. Most people wouldn't have done it. Most people couldn't have done it. Jake Morrison, a disabled veteran in a wheelchair, did what able-bodied bystanders were too afraid to attempt. And the family he saved? They had no idea who he was, until they met him in the hospital. 2 weeks after the crash, Jessica Ramirez woke up in the hospital. Her first words, "Where are my kids?" They were safe, thanks to a stranger she'd never met. When nurses told her what happened, that a man with no legs crawled into her burning car to save her family, she broke down sobbing. She asked to meet him. Jake came to the hospital, rolled into her room. Jessica saw him, saw the wheelchair, saw the prosthetics, and she understood. This man had already sacrificed everything once, and he did it again. For her children. She hugged him, cried into his shoulder, said, "You gave me my life back. How do I ever thank you?" Jake smiled, quiet, humble, and said, "You don't. You just hug your kids every day. That's enough." That's the difference between heroes and everyone else. Heroes don't do it for the thank you. They do it because someone needed them. Jake Morrison's story isn't just about one rescue. It's about what we're capable of when we stop making excuses. When we stop letting our limitations define us. When we decide that someone else's life matters more than our fear. Jake lost his legs, but he didn't lose his courage. He didn't lose his sense of duty. He didn't lose the warrior inside him. And when the moment came, when a family needed a hero, he didn't hesitate. This is what unsung heroes do. They don't wait for permission. They don't wait for the perfect moment. They just act. And in that action, they remind us what humanity is supposed to look like. But here's the part of Jake's story that almost no one knows. After the rescue, Jake was invited to speak at veteran events, schools, churches. He didn't want to, but people kept asking. So he started sharing his story, not to be famous, but because he realized something powerful. His pain had purpose. His scars had meaning. His wheelchair wasn't a prison, it was a platform to inspire other wounded veterans who thought their lives were over, to show them that losing your legs doesn't mean losing your fight. Today, Jake Morrison runs a nonprofit called Second Mission. It helps disabled veterans find purpose after combat, connects them with volunteer opportunities, teaches them that their service isn't over, it's just beginning. Jake saved a family from a burning car, but he saved hundreds more from the fire of hopelessness. Because real heroes don't just save lives once. They keep saving lives, over and over, in ways we never see. Jake Morrison will never call himself a hero, but we will, because that's what he is. A Green Beret who lost his legs saving soldiers, a disabled veteran who saved a family from a burning car, and a man who refuses to let his limitations define him. This is the kind of story the world needs to hear. The kind of courage that doesn't make headlines. The kind of sacrifice that quietly changes everything. If this story moved you, subscribe to The Quiet Brave. We uncover the heroes the world forgets. The soldiers, the medics, the everyday people who risk everything and ask for nothing in return. Because their stories deserve to be told. And we're here to tell them. Hit that subscribe button. Leave a comment telling us what Jake's story means to you. And remember, heroes aren't born. They're made. One impossible choice at a time.